Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far, you understand.
Hi, welcome to Healing Outside the Box. My name is Rosemary Lachance. I'm an energy healer and a spiritual teacher.
My name is David Beatty. I'm a biophoton therapist. I work out of the Life Balance Center in Weston, Connecticut. We are the co-hosts for this thought-provoking series and are dedicated to providing you with food for thought, information, and answers to all modalities of alternative healing, spiritual development, and animal welfare, environmental concerns, and so much more, in the form of guest speakers who are experts in their field. To find out what shows are playing in your area and when they're playing, please contact the public service channel in your town. To find out their website, to get their address and phone number, please check Rosemary's website, where you will find a list of all the towns that air this show under the title Healing Outside the Box. We will give her website address at the end of the show. Please like the show on Facebook under Healing Outside the Box, where you can learn about and see pictures of our past guests and ask questions or leave a comment. Please enjoy the show.
Okay, David, this is our 149th show. And our guest tonight is Elana Whyte,
Welcome.
who is a school psychologist and author. Welcome,
Oh.
Lana.
Hey,
Nice to have you
I
be
can't
here.
read. There we go.
Okay.
Nice to be here. Thank
Let me
you.
tell you a little bit about Alana. Alana Whyte has worked as a school psychologist for over 20 years, which has provided her the foundation to support children who are psychically sensitive. Through her eldest daughter's curiosity about other religions, Alana found her spiritual path. She has been exploring and learning everything she can since 2006, and she and her girls explored together. She realized her daughters had special talents which have been both a blessing and a challenge at the same time. Through their experiences, her gift was born in hopes to help young children understand their talents and gifts so they can live happy and fulfilled lives. And the title of our show tonight is Identifying and Supporting Psychic Children. Okay, the first question we ask all our guests is, what made you get into all of this?
Wow. As you said in the introduction there, my daughters. My daughters. I've always had a fascination with spirituality and psychic things. But then when my older daughter started exploring things, and both daughters were having experiences that we really couldn't explain, then that got me going and learning more about it, and it's just evolved. It's been wonderful.
Were you and are you psychic too?
That's a good question, because as far as I remember, I don't remember being psychic, but I've been told through other psychics that I was when I was younger, and I blocked it. Yeah, and so as now I'm working on opening up, because we're all psychic, we all have the ability, and it's just a matter of working on it and exploring it. So that is what I'm doing. But no, I'm not like my daughters.
No.
I'm not. I have some, like I said, like everybody else, but I'm working on opening.
So they're kind of teaching you a little bit.
Oh yes, they are teaching me
You're
a lot.
helping them,
Yes.
supporting them.
Yes.
Okay.
Apparently you wrote a book
Yes. I
called
did.
My Gift. And how did you come about writing this? What brought you to do it?
Well, this is the book, and
I ordered it today, by the way, on Amazon.
thank you.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, well, actually, believe it or not, it came to me one night, and I was just compelled to write down this story. And it is actually word for word, except for the intro page. And it really came out of, just thinking about how to help young children, because I didn't know that my children could do what they do when they were younger. And so because they had difficulties with it, I didn't know to help them. I didn't know how to help them. And then as they've grown, I've learned a lot more. So I'm really passionate about trying to help them as young as possible, help kids young as possible. So my book is truly for younger children, although it has helped some older children, even some adults, believe it or not. Yeah. So it's been really interesting.
I think that I've read it, and I think that it's very good for children. The pictures that they're in there, the illustrations showing the spirit, the grandfather and spirit, and so forth. I think it's a wonderful book to get your child if they have these gifts already developed. You know, really, really.
And
is.
my father illustrated it, so it was a
well
family.
Done, Dad.
Yeah, so it's a family endeavor.
You used the word compelled to write the book.
Yeah.
Was it channeled? Did some spirit say go do
I believe
this?
I believe it was channeled because literally I was laying there in bed one night, and I was like, it just came to me. I said, I need to write this down. I just need to. I don't know why. And my husband was sleeping. I didn't want to wake him up, so I went to the bathroom and I literally just wrote it down. And it is exactly as I got it.
I think a lot of things come in. I might get my best in bed too,
Yeah.
especially first thing in the morning
Yeah.
when I wake up. My best thoughts.
Okay.
And I get up from the in the morning, and I'm laying there and I'm thinking, and they come and I say, all right, get up, run to the computer and start.
Yeah.
When it happens.
Yep. That's
So it could be either morning or evening. Smarty.
Okay, I got you.
We're just more relaxed and allowing it to come.
What is that called? My gift. Okay. And so how do we know if a child is psychic?
Well, there are actually a lot of different ways. It's just like all the different psychic senses that people learn about. The clairs, as they call them.
Yeah.
You know. So if the child, sometimes children will say they see things. That's a lot what we hear. You know, I saw something was in my room. I saw Grandpa. I saw, those kind of things. So they might see. Some will see angels. It's a matter, they might see things. Others may hear things. Some both.
So that's clairaudience is hearing it.
Yep.
Clear senses is when you sense what's
clear
this is what I have a lot of. Sensing things around and from people.
Sensing, knowing.
Yeah, and then clairvoyance.
Yep, clairvoyance, clear seeing.
Yep.
Yep, seeing.
And
so
then
that
the audience will know the different names.
Yeah, it's clairaudient, clear. I always get. I have to remember them all. But yeah, clairvoyance. There's clear sense and they're clear knowing. I can't remember honestly at the moment what that one's called, but it's just knowing things. Like they'll just know things. There's no possible way they could know.
Right.
I have parents telling me it's like they knew things before they were, about things that before they were born. They couldn't possibly know that. Or history things. A lot of these children know their past lives kind of thing. They'll talk about their past lives. They will they will. Like I said, see things here. They will hear ghosts, spirit, angels. They will get messages. Knowing, and sensing. They just sense. Like they'll have a really good. They'll be really good at sensing about people. Like they'll just know that they're not comfortable with people, or they just have very strong knowing about things, and so those are the different ways that you can tell when they're a lot of them are empathic, and I find that's the hardest one to figure out, because you don't really, the kids can be irritable, they can be upset, they can not want to be around people, they may not want to go somewhere. And see, it doesn't make any sense, but what it is they're picking up on all the emotions of everybody. Like large groups are very difficult for some of these kids, because it's just so much emotion that they're feeling, and they don't understand what it is. We don't know that's what's going on with them. So it can cause a lot of behavioral concerns, sleep issues, things like that. It's a wonderful gift, but it can be challenging, and that's why it's important to understand it.
Yeah, that's true about large crowds of people.
So now we throw in the EMFs, and imagine one of those children growing up in New York City, all the distractions, right?
One of my older daughter explained it to me years ago, which really helped me to understand what she was going through. She went to both of them went to very large high school, 2,000 kids. Think about adolescence. Emotions up and down, really, having a lot of turmoil and that kind of thing. You walk down the hallway, and it's it's all laughing and joking and yelling at each other and all that stuff, but yet as an empath, you walk through there and it's like a sea of emotions, and she said you just like have to walk through these walls of this, and it's so heavy, and because what what they're sensing is what they're really feeling. You know, there's maybe depression or just upset, the anxieties, all the different things that they're trying to mask and hide. And they really sense all that, and it's just so difficult just to walk down the hall between classes, you know. So those kind of things, and just understanding that as a parent, you can just support them better.
Well, I had a sister that had imaginary friends.
Oh, my daughter.
Now I think we're learning that those are very real, and they can sense them, and we don't know what to do about that, right?
Yeah, my younger one had a lot of imaginary friends, and we've come to confirm some of them that they weren't imaginary through other psychic readings and that kind of thing, and no way they could have known that there was this person in our house. But yeah, that's what I didn't know. I thought I took her to therapy.
Yeah, right, of course.
Took her to therapy when she was young.
Yeah, how old was she when they?
About 3.
Oh, they were okay.
About 3 years old, and so it took her for play therapy because she had a lot of anxieties and just talking to these people, and it's like as a school psychologist, I wasn't too worried about the kids have imaginary friends. That's not a big deal, but it was the intensity of it and how she handled it and all that, and the therapist said, well, you know what? It's good coping skills that she's telling them what to do. She's controlling. She's in control of it. So it's dealing with its coping. I was like, that made sense at the time, right? And now we know it wasn't that.
30 years ago, we would say those children were crazy or had emotional issues, when in fact we're coming to realize it's an incredible gift.
Absolutely. It
really
is.
is, yeah.
It is. And if they can learn how to embrace it, if they can learn how to manage it, if they can learn how to use it, it can just make their lives so full and wonderful. It really can, because I've talked to a lot of adults who have had the issues where so there's extremes where some don't finish school, some will have to be homeschooled. Those are the extremes. Most of the kids with guidance and help can handle it, but they said it was just really, really difficult, and so. That, like I said, those are the extreme ones. But we have to be really careful about how we handle them. I have adults who say, my parents told me, don't ever say anything. Don't tell anybody. It's that kind of thing. And even when I was figuring things out, I even said a little bit. I'm like, don't say anything at school. You don't want them, go into the psych ward. And I've had parents, as a school psychologist, if I've had parents talk to me about it because the child has opened up and told me, and they're like, oh, I told them not to say anything because I don't want you calling, sending them to the emergency room. I said, I won't do that. I understand. I know that's not what's going on here. But they're nervous about that.
Right,
They're
just
very
like this
nervous about
show, the title of this show, Outside the Box. And our culture does not know how to deal with children outside the box.
Exactly.
When in fact we should be celebrating their differences. In fact, we're trying to get them to conform.
Yeah,
so thank you for your work.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, like I said, I'm very passionate about it. And they have a very important purpose. There's so many of them being born now, so many more. They've been through.
Could you tell us why you think that is?
Well, just everything that I've read about it, but also it's because of the shift. We all know that we're going through this change. We're going through this shift, and
changes,
and we need help. We need help, and
You're
these children.
absolutely right. I totally agree with you.
And they're being born to help us. They're coming here to teach us about love. They're coming here to break down the systems, and we get into the different. There are, for lack of better, different types of psychic kids, I guess, with different characteristics, but. They come here with a purpose to heal and to help us raise our vibration, to do things with love. The world is in a turmoil right now. There's a lot of stuff going on, lot of stuff going on, and so it's hard to believe that these kids are here to help. Like, how are they going to do that? But this is the beginning, it's the beginning of the big change. It's been happening over, a while. But when you think about, if you think about time, though, I mean, we're really in the beginning stages of this huge change. So, they're part of the evolution. I mean, there's even some research on DNA and changes and things like that. And, and they've done research on psychic abilities. And, it's becoming more mainstream. It's still not mainstream by any stretch. I still, have to kind of be careful where I go. Some places aren't accepting of it. They don't want to have me show my book, and they don't want to, because they
Still.
don't. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I would think
Yeah.
that we're more advanced than that, but I guess
I
not.
know. I was very surprised. But I was like, okay, you're not ready yet. And so that just showed me that that's what I need. That's where I need to get to. I need
Right.
to start just getting the message out anywhere I can, and then
Yes.
hopefully it'll become more and more mainstream, so we can help. Because so many kids are hiding it because they're afraid to tell anybody. They're even afraid to tell their parents.
That's why I was so excited to meet you and have you be on the show, because
thank you.
I've dealt with children like that, and I know as a child myself, I was 3 years old when I first saw spirit, and things started happening. And when I told my relatives, my aunt, my mother, they patronized me. I didn't know what the word meant then, but they
Yeah.
were like, "Oh yes, dear, yes, yes, yes."
Of course you
know?
see things.
Yeah, of
right.
course, right?
Yeah, sure
They were
you-
nice about it, but they didn't believe me, so I stopped talking.
Right.
Yeah. You
Right.
suppressed it.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't talk to me. I just talked to my own spirits, my own guides, my own animals who talked to me,
Right.
and flowers who talked back to me, and I just, that's what I did. So I imagine there must be a lot of people, and there probably was a lot of people at that time too,
Oh yeah.
kids at my age that were, and we didn't tell each other.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
And the suppression of your truth may lead to illness later in life
Absolutely.
because you're keeping
a
that
lot,
inside.
A lot
right?
of these, I know a lot of adults who have developed anxiety, depression. I even know some that won't leave the house. They wouldn't leave the house, because they don't know how to handle it. Not because they're afraid of what people are going to say, but they didn't know how to handle the energy. They didn't know how to handle what they were feeling. So that's why it's really important to teach them young. That this is okay, this is part of who you are, and it's wonderful that you're here, and you're normal.
exactly.
You're
you are,
normal.
yeah.
That's the huge thing. That's one of the things I found with sending my book around, just trying to get people to people who are already working with psychic children, and I wanted to give them books so they can use it in their work. And that was a theme that I noticed when they would email me back. It's like, your book shows the normalcy of it. It makes it normal for them, and that's so important. And so I really started thinking about that, and it is very true, because even when mine start, my younger one is very, very strong in her abilities, at first, like, oh, this is cool, oh, this is great, and but now it's like, okay, you know what? You're a teenager just like everybody else, and yes, you have this special gift, and we got to figure out how to incorporate it into your life, because it's who you are, So it's a process, and we all go through different phases of it. I did too, and and we're working on it.
When I was a kid and I had those gifts, and no one would listen, I just, I don't know, I remember, because you brought up a point, and I remember I wasn't frustrated, I wasn't upset, I just thought, I called it magic, and to me it was magical, and I had all these things to talk to, the trees and flowers and animals and everything, and then spirit and all that, and I was happy. I just didn't tell anybody, but I didn't think about it. I just was happy doing that,
And that's
yeah,
great you were
it
able
worked
to
out
do
good.
that.
Yeah,
because
it
a
worked out
lot
good
of
for
kids
me.
are scared. They're scared. It's called, like I said before, sleep problems. They do get scared because they'll get visitors in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
What it is their light is so large, because they are at a higher vibration already, and their light is so vast, and they don't know how to control it, and so they're like a beacon for spirits, and so they do get earthbound spirits come to them.
Yeah.
And it's scary, because earthbound spirits haven't crossed over, and they don't always look so pretty.
Right.
No, they don't, and they
You
don't
know.
know much of anything. They're just hanging around.
Right, and they don't some
They
don't
wanna
realize
talk to
they're
somebody,
dead,
yeah.
and and so it is very, very difficult for young children to understand that. I've had parents email me, like, what do I do? Like, how do I, they won't sleep in their bed, they won't, or they're crying because there's something over in the closet, or, it's good. I was like, it's great you believe them. That's a great first step. You believe they're
Right.
actually seeing something.
Exactly.
And then I give them, tips on what they, things they can do. But that is the most important thing, is just believe them. Believe
You really
them.
do. It's really true. If a child sees a monster or this or that or the other, you really have to believe them and
Some
comfort
could
them.
be imagination.
Yeah.
I mean, of course,
okay.
some could
But you
be.
don't know which is which, so
Right,
just
but still validate what they're
Yeah.
feeling or seeing, and then
Right.
see. And but the thing is, if they're truly psychic, which, like I said, they're all psychic. All children are special. All children are psychic.
Right.
But some are born with this, stronger abilities, and they and so you will know. You'll know over a little while. It's like, okay, well, is this really imaginary, or is this, just bad dreams because they saw a scary movie or something like that? You'll be able to tell the difference, because there'll be other signs. Because they usually start with one type of sense, and then they develop other ones as they go along.
Right.
If they have multiple. Some only have one, some will have multiple, but usually they're stronger in one, and it usually starts out with one. So, but you'll be able to tell.
Well, it is my hope that quantum physics is coming on so fast. So the kids who used to be the outcasts and outside the structure may soon be the rock stars.
Yes.
Because everybody appreciates the physics and science of what they know. That's my hope anyway.
Yeah.
But there's pressure, of course. They come in at a higher consciousness than their parents in many cases.
Yes.
And the system's not set up to deal with
No.
that.
Either are schools.
Right.
Yeah.
Either are schools.
Yeah.
These kids really have difficulty in school. Not to say they shouldn't be in schools. I mean, we know the school systems. They're very different depending on where you go and all that, but but things to think about is even the lighting, the artificial lighting bother these kids, chemicals bother these kids. There's a lot of different things that that make it difficult, and then all the emotions in the classroom and the teacher's emotions, and the teacher's saying one thing, but they're really sensing the teacher's really feeling something else.
Exactly. Yeah,
I've seen it.
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
and you know what?
Me all the
Teachers are human.
Yeah.
They're human. They're doing the right thing by showing, but they're having a hard time some days too, and so it's difficult for the kids because they know it. They know more than we realize they know.
I think schools are still behind the times,
In a lot of
and
ways.
they have to modern up. And the teachers can only do what they're told that they must do. So. Yeah,
That's a whole other topic.
Must be frustrating. What?
Yeah, it's a whole other topic as far as schools. Yeah, there's wonderful people in the school system.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful,
Absolutely.
and I was very surprised, happily surprised how supportive my school was when I came out, because I was like, I don't know if I should tell anybody about this book, and they were very supportive, and they asked a lot of questions, and I'm hoping as time goes on they'll start recognizing things in the children in their classroom too.
Well, that's good that they.
Yeah.
They did. So you did get brave enough to.
Well, one of the teachers did it for me. She let everybody know,
Yay
so
for
I
her.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yes,
yay
yes,
for
I
her.
thank
It's
her a
true.
lot for that. Yeah.
It would be nice if teachers could ask the children, how many of you experienced
I
this
know,
or that or the
wouldn't that
other.
be nice?
They would feel nice,
Yeah.
and maybe they wouldn't be so afraid to tell, because
Right.
other classmates I know may laugh if they come from homes where parents do laugh at that. It's hard.
Yeah, and some parents are very scared of that. They think it's something evil. They think, so we do have to be careful in the schools. But those kids are in school all day. I mean, they're there a long time, so it's a really important place to try to help them with it. But we're in the very, very early infancy stage of that. Yeah,
Do you have
so
any
it's more
estimate
for
of the
parents.
number of children or a percentage of children that might be, as you define, psychic or indigo?
I really don't know. I think because there are so many kids that we just don't know but I think a lot of our information comes from intuition and spirit giving information through psychic people, and so that's where a lot of the information comes from. And then the different people who have worked with these children, they see a lot of themes, and so it supports what they've been told and that kind of thing. But I don't really think anybody really has any idea. They do know that there have definitely been waves of more of them being born certain times. There's been, like, the Indigo Children have, like, 1992 was a huge wave of Indigo Children who are much stronger in their abilities. And then 1990 to 2010, 1995, in there, where the Crystal Children, a lot more were born. But it can be, there are adults that, older adults who are crystal, it sounds like probably what you'll just, when you talk about crystal, a lot of characteristics you described is what crystal children do, as far as animal connection, nature, and that connection,
Okay,
things
that's
like
what I was
that.
going to say. It brought us to the next question. Can you define each one individually, right? First of all, what is, whatever, what do you want to do first? Indigo or
Indigo,
crystal?
they
All right.
came first.
Okay.
Indigos,
Define that for our group
yeah,
viewers.
Indigos are our warriors. That's what Doreen Virtue, if anybody wants to read about psychic children, Doreen Virtue has a lot of information about it. But she calls them the warriors. As she puts it, they're there to hatchet down, all the systems and the things that aren't working, the corruption, the greed, all that, because they have such a high moral compass. They just can't stand the lying and corruption and greed and all that kind of thing. And so they're the fighters. They're the ones that don't like authority. They're the ones who will stand up to authority. They're the ones who will break the rules if they feel they don't make sense, which a lot of rules don't make sense. Doesn't make it okay, but they have a lot of trouble with adults who that do conform. And those adults have a lot of problems with indigos because they don't understand why they're not following the rules.
Well, they don't salute and follow the rules,
oh,
right?
no, yeah. There are not many indigos in the military, I can tell you. And they are the fiery ones. They're the ones who are really here to fight for the change, so the crystals can come in and spread the love, kind of thing. Indigos think out of the box. They, my older daughter is very indigo, and they need to learn from experience themselves. She told me that over and over. Mom, I have to experience it myself. I'm like, I know, I know, and they do. They really do. They need to experience themselves. They need to understand why things are the way they are. You can't just tell an indigo, just do it because I said to do it. I'm not going to fly.
I have a son who approached me when he was 11 or 12, and not malicious at all. He said, Dad, I don't understand why I have to listen to Aunt so-and-so. Just because she's bigger and older. It really doesn't make any sense to me. And really, he wasn't trying to be a troublemaker. And this aunt was to conform. This is the way families are run. And he said, I just don't get it. I just don't want to, And that's an indigo by my definition.
Yes, that definitely sounds like an
that
indigo.
That first wave of indigos, how old would they be now?
Well, there's some indigos that were, early 1900s there, but that big wave that came in, that last big wave was 1992. So they're around 22 years old right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
but there's definitely other,
Sure, of course.
Do they have the gifts also?
Yes,
psychic
they are.
Gifts?
Yes, they are. They are psychic. They a higher vibration. Psychic, sensitive, empathic. They each generation, I call them generations. The indigos, the crystals. Each one has stronger abilities and a little bit higher vibration. So the indigos definitely come in with gifts. They can sense things. Like my older daughter can sense things, but she can't necessarily see and hear like my younger daughter does, who was crystal. So, but they.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, I was just thinking of other characteristics of indigo. There are a whole list of them.
There's a book out called The Indigo. Oh, Are You an Indigo Adult?
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
I read that.
There's
and
a
then
lot more
you
indigo
check
adults.
everything at the end.
Yeah,
and
there's a checklist.
I was checking everything. I said, okay.
Yeah.
So can they be indigo and crystal also?
Yeah, there is cusp. That's what Doreen Virtue calls it, cusp.
So.
Yeah. There are some that can cross over, and they, I think, probably have the most difficult time because they want to fight this and they don't think it's fair. All these things, but yet they're loving and this kind of, when I go through the crystal, you'll see the difference between them. So they are very opposite in a lot of ways. So to be both, you're conflicted in a lot of things,
Exactly.
So but I'm trying to think of some of the other characteristics of indigo. They definitely have different ideas of how to do things, and we should listen to them because they do. Well, I say they think out of the box, and they come up with some really great ideas. And it's really interesting because when the more indigos, as indigos were getting older and being, not the 92 ones, but the other ones, all of a sudden technology started popping up and stuff.
Right,
so they're wondering, did they bring in the technology? Who knows? But they definitely are the ones to like the whole bank, the few years ago and the bank bank fiasco. I'm convinced, indigos like knock that down. They just don't want the
and the government informant, the fellow who's bringing down all the information. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're definitely button pushers, and they're definitely whistleblowers.
Whistleblowers, that's the word I was looking for.
Yes, yes.
Is IQ a factor with these kids?
You know what? I haven't really read a lot. I think most of them are pretty intelligent, but there are a lot of characteristics of them that they get diagnosed a lot with ADHD.
Yeah, well, I know.
Yeah,
that is so.
Yeah, they get diagnosed with ADHD. Yeah, because the thing is that because they're at a higher vibration, because they're sensing things all the time. If they don't really know how to, that can cause like, anxiety, which looks like ADHD, or ADHD with hyperactivity. They need to move, they need to go, because they're thinkers. They're doers.
Right.
That kind of thing. Yeah, a lot of them are. I'm not going to say a lot of them don't have ADHD, but I think a lot of them are misdiagnosed with ADHD. I think a lot of kids are misdiagnosed with ADHD because anxiety can look very much like ADHD, and a lot of our society has anxiety. And can you imagine these kids who are sensing and not understanding and fighting these fights and not knowing, and dealing with all this stuff? You're going to be a little anxious. You're going to be a little anxious. And I love Doreen Virtue's. Because ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, but she calls it, let me see if I remember exactly, attention dialed into a higher dimension.
Nice.
Oh, that's good.
I love that. Love that. Yeah.
It's true. I think people should, if they suspect that their child may be indigo or crystal, they should go out there and get some books, check it out, and start reading about it.
There's more books out there now. I've been reading some. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more books out there, and it's really important to know as much as you can.
Let me bring up a case for you. One time when I was giving a spiritual lecture, this mother and son came, and the son, I noticed he was different. I could sense something different about him, and we started talking, and he was like way ahead, and he was his questions were intelligent, of a spiritual nature, and he was almost like kind of a eunuch type person, not with sex of either male or female. And he started to open up, and I said, I looked at him, and I said, "Are you indigo?" He says, "Yes, I'm indigo." And he started to open up, and he started to talk about spirit. He's seeing spirit. They're teaching him things, telling him things. He was going to write some books, and on and on and on. Now, I think that he was misdiagnosed with the AD, whatever, and he was put on some kind of drugs. But as I've checked with him lately, he didn't have the spirituality taught to him that he needed to have, because he saw spirit a lot. And in one place where they had a house, there were the low earthbound spirits, and they were bothering him. And he could see that, so he was very bothered and troubled. And he got to the point where he finally, they had to put him into a home for now. And that's where he is right now, trying to work this all out and everything. He's not getting the help that he needs, and I feel really bad for him. I've talked to him several times, but he's to the point where he doesn't listen anymore. So, we can all just pray for him.
Right.
But he started out with that, and this is what can happen if parents don't. She knew, she supported him a certain amount, but he just got too far off the deep end.
Right,
so.
and that's the thing. I mean, there's a lot when you have psychic abilities and you're not really sure how to handle them. It can cause, like you said, mental health issues, and they even think the crystal children. They think there's the whole autism. Theory about that, because crystals tend to go inward.
Crystals now.
Yeah, crystals are different in that they are very, not that indigos aren't loving, they're loving people, but crystals are loving. Like they will just randomly just come up and give you hugs, because they love that energy exchange of the hug, that sensory, they love that. They are very tuned into animals and nature. Animals and people are just drawn to them. They usually have big, round eyes, and they will look. I know some crystals, and they'll just look at you, and you're like, what are they doing? And it's like what they're doing. They are like looking into your soul. Like they're reading you, and they don't realize they're even doing it, but it's just natural for them, that kind of thing. Let's see, crystals can, they are especially psychic and empathic, and almost to a detriment, to a point like I was explaining before. What are some of the other things about crystal? They are, they want to decide when they. You'll have some kids who are very picky eaters. They will tell you when they want to eat, how much they want to eat, that kind of thing. Indigos don't even really, a lot of times they're not big eaters. They don't even need a lot of, as you say.
I do a smoothie a day. That's pretty much it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We're oh, you have to every 3 meals, but indigos, they're finding they don't always need a lot of
You're
it.
indigo?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm way too old for that
read the
wave.
book.
Oh,
No,
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 that
no.
wave,
I've
no,
already
but
ordered
there's
the book,
They came
yeah.
in earlier too, so and
Oh,
they
yeah.
different times.
Definitely
also.
came in
You should
earlier.
Get a book and,
Pretty much a smoothie does
Read
it
that
for me,
check.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, so that might be it. But the crystals, they tend to not like loud noises. They don't like big crowds. My younger daughter, her first concert was when she was 19. She did not want to go anywhere where there was big. I didn't know why.
So they're almost by definition, they're ADHD.
Yeah, the crystals, some are diagnosed with ADHD, but they're more, they think a lot of the autistic kids might be
yeah.
crystal.
Yeah.
Not that crystals are autistic, but they're wondering if a lot of the autistic kids might be crystal, because what it is they're bombarded with all the
Yeah.
energy, and so they go within.
yeah.
And it's just too much. It's
That's
just
an
too much.
observation from my business, by the way. I came to that
Okay.
conclusion. Yeah, the autistic kids may very well be crystalline kids.
Yeah.
And then
So
you put
that's
the
when-
vaccines in there, of course, which you haven't mentioned yet.
Yeah, no, honestly, I haven't read a ton of stuff on that. I'll be honest, I haven't. I've been kind of stay away from that stuff. But yeah, I mean, drugs in general for these kids, there's very mixed feelings, all different kinds of drugs for these children. Obviously, people like during virtual, absolutely not. Don't ever medicate them, that kind of thing. But I've also received messages and gotten information that, where we are right now, some of these kids, it's so hard to live in this world that they might need a little help. And so sometimes the medication is helpful. So I'm not advocating medication. I'm not saying don't do medication, but it's very individual. And to say absolutely not or all the time, neither one is right. But it can definitely help them because they're human beings too, and it's hard. And if they have anxiety or depression, they might need some help. Or if they can't concentrate, they may need it for a little bit to help them to show how smart they are, that kind of thing.
That's true.
Yeah, so.
And I'll say right now to the audience that if you've grown up and you're an indigo adult or a crystal adult, you'll still have those kinds of problems too. Because I know myself when I'm out I don't like a lot big crowds. I'd rather stay home. And if I'm out for a while, in a store, with all the people milling around, or on the highway with everyone tailgating and cutting and after a while I go, I have to go home now. I just have to go home now.
So I guess we're not going disco dancing tonight, right? There
I've
goes
done
that
my share
plan.
of that, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know as
It's
I've gotten older,
overwhelming.
become more and more sensitive,
But that's good that you realize that.
Yeah.
A lot of kids, and they're dragged around with their parent. We all do it. You dragged around with the parent. Well, store. I want to go home. I mean, my older daughter does it now. My
Right.
younger one does it now. She's
Right.
like, I've had enough. Can't we go home? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, I have to do this. No, she needs to get home. She needs to have that break. And that's really important to make sure that we're sensitive to that.
That's why they picked you for their parent.
Yes.
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 They knew
Absolutely.
what the work they were going to do. They needed you to support them.
Right.
I hope they're listening. That's why you picked her.
Exactly.
Yes.
Make sure they
we
watch,
talk
will
all the
you?
time. They make sure I know that that this was all chosen the way it was chosen. But there was one thing I wanted to make sure that the audience knew is that when you research this, you may see them identify different things. Some will generalize it and call them star children.
Yeah, I've heard
So
that.
you might see that.
I've heard that
Right.
saying.
Also, a lot of people will generalize all psychic children as indigo, which is fine. It's fine. I just prefer to talk about the differences just because there are differences.
Right.
And I have talked to a lot of indigo adults who didn't realize they were indigo, because I teach a class at a shop, and they're like, I didn't even realize. It's like, that's why I did this, and that's why I did, that's why I had all this trouble with this.
Yeah, me too. When I first picked up the book.
Yeah,
I didn't know until I picked up the book.
Yeah, and so they so lost my thought. Oh, but so the adult indigos, it's given them peace. It's given them understanding of themselves, and it's helped them. So it's not to say, oh, you're indigo and you're plugged into this. No, it's just to help understand. That's all it is. And the crystal is just to help understand their needs, and so that you can support them better. So they're all, they're all psychic. They all need a lot of the recommendations that we have for them are across the board. It doesn't matter which one they are, but it just,
and some can be both.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's more of a self-healing. It's more of understanding yourself, self-concept, loving yourself for who you are, that kind of thing. Understanding that, you know what, I have all these things because there's a purpose to it. There's a spiritual purpose, and I chose to come here this way so that I could help, and so it gives you, I can't say more, it just gives you peace, and it helps you to get through the difficult times easier because there's a reason for it. So that's why I tend to still, differentiate them. But you will see all that in online and in books that some books won't distinguish them, and that's fine. But I tend to still want people to know the differences.
Right. And as far as I think, to all the parents out there, if your children are like that, or if you're like that as an adult, and you wonder why you're here, what is your purpose in life? What is your mission in life? I just say meditate. Meditate as much as you can. Ask for answers from your angels and your guides, and try to be with people who are of the same like-mindedness as you are, so you can talk about this, right? Read what you can, and when the time is right, you will be let known what your mission is,
right?
And it may come for a long time. You may have to go through a lot of things first, right? But eventually, you're here for a reason,
right? And all those things are getting you there.
Yeah.
It's
that
important.
will be made clear to you.
Do you have any simple advice for those that are empathic and pick up things from the crowd, including illnesses, by the way? What advice would you give them?
They really need to learn how to bring their light in. They need to learn how to bring the light in, and there are some. Pretty much, it's just thinking about it and being conscious of it, giving yourself time. And this is the same for the kids, because I think more about the kids, obviously. Thinking about how long you are around those people. Who are you exposing your children to? Not that, obviously, you want, but if they're picking up, if you have a crystal child who's hugging you and their back is to the person, and they just, don't realize that. They're telling you something.
Right.
They're not comfortable with this person, So give them, that you said you need to go home and get away from it. Give yourself that time. Give your children that time. They absolutely need that time alone to regroup, to recharge, to get away from it all. And also, I always tell my girl, angels, ask the angels for help.
Right.
They will.
You have to ask, right?
Right. And
definitely have to ask them. They never interfere with you. They won't force you. They wait for you to ask.
Right, and they are and they're around everybody. Yeah. But these kids, they are ready and willing to help, and they want to help them. And so if they are in those situations, I just tell them, it's like, ask the angels for help. To help you feel, block it. Do all the different little techniques. They really need to learn. Parents need to learn and teach their kids all the different techniques, like dry saging, grounding, all those kinds of things. And that's one of the things that parents can do for their kids and for themselves, because often they have the same kinds of things.
Right.
So it's learning about all this spiritual stuff.
Exactly.
Like be a role model of how, what is all this stuff? Read books about it, and then your child will see you reading them, and they'll start getting interested in it, and they can start picking up things and learning, and you can share all that information on how to help them and what works better. Some things may work better for some kids and some other won't, so you have to experiment and see, but that's really, really important. The more you educate yourself as a parent, it'll help you and it'll help your child.
So many people are fearful of this kind of thing. And I don't understand why they're fearful. People are fearful of what they don't understand, for one thing.
Right.
But with this, I would think would be good news to hear all that, to know that we communicate with each other, to know they're such loving people and people who understand all that, and their children are blessed with these gifts and they're here to help. That's good news. That's not anything to be afraid of.
Right, but I think
So
some people are afraid.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it's interesting. I've had this happen a couple of times. My younger daughter, like I said, is extremely strong in her abilities, and when she's around people who don't understand, we just came back from a family reunion, and some of the family were concerned that she could read their minds.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Well, that's a concern for some people that those thoughts aren't where they're supposed to be.
And it's like, no.
Wait a minute, I'm going to block right now, just in case. I'm going to block.
So it's a fear. Like you said, it's a fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
They just don't understand it. But although I will say that telepathy isn't totally non-existent. I mean, there is stuff with that, especially the really young ones, like the crystals when they're very young. A lot of them talk late, and that's why a lot of them were misdiagnosed with autism, or they do have autism.
Because they're talking in their mind,
late.
right?
And moms, I asked one of my friends, a psychologist with the preschool, and I asked her, I was like, are you getting a lot of kids who aren't talking? And she said, yeah. And I said,
yeah.
Are the mothers worried about it? She goes, no, we're the ones worried about it. I said, that's because they can communicate with them. They are communicating. They have this bond. They have this stuff. They don't realize they're doing it,
right?
But they're doing it. So, and that's going to get stronger as more generations are born.
I know this woman who communicated with some of the autistic children and psychically, and the children told them when they said, we don't need to talk.
Right.
With words, don't you understand us? Well,
Right.
we're talking all the time.
That's so primitive
right.
to use words, right?
Yeah, right. But that's where we're headed. But
Right.
they're just a little further ahead. I personally haven't met any of the kids who can do that, but I definitely have read about it, and it's and also the moving of objects and things like that. So those things those really there are some who do have that exceptional talent.
That's telekinesis.
Yes, telekinesis. So it's it's definitely out there. It's definitely but I'd say most of the kids don't have those abilities, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. Definitely not out of the realm.
So it sounds like we're moving to a culture where we can't lie to each other because the kids are so honest, right?
Oh yes, and honesty is one of the big things with these kids. It's like, don't lie to them. They can tell. They can they know. You have to be honest with them.
Are others coming?
Yes.
There are?
Yes. There may be some that, depending on who you talk to, they're called Rainbow Children. I can't wait to meet them.
We have a name for them
yes,
already. Great.
Rainbow Children.
Tell us about that.
Yes. Rainbow Children, there's, like Doreen Virtue feels like there's maybe just a few in the world right now, but other people feel that there are other ones, and some people are, they're coming. Most of the information we have is definitely channeled. We really don't know yet, but the information I have is just from what I've read about it. They are going to be even higher vibration, all about service and love. There's some things you may read about them that they have no karma, they have no past lives, they're at their highest spiritual peak, all these things. And they will only be born into families that are not dysfunctional. Find me a family who doesn't have some dysfunction. Okay,
Right.
So I don't know if I tend to believe it, and I've read other books that don't believe that also, other authors who don't believe that also. What I agree with what I've read is that they will probably be born to a lot of crystals, crystal parents. But when things happen within a family, they're not going to get all distraught and upset like the rest of us usually do, because they know it's part of the spiritual path. They know that they have to go through, this is just part of life, you know, and so they won't, so I think how they react to things may be different than what we're usually seeing with these kids. They're saying they're going to be hyper, they're going to be stubborn, so they will, who knows what they'll get diagnosed with, but they are so much about spreading love and compassion, and they're just like Doreen Virtue calls them little Buddhas. So I can't wait. I'm supposedly I'm having grandchildren. You know, someday they're, you know, I've been told, but we'll see. But yeah, I can't wait because they're
So is
coming.
there psychic lineage that you've identified?
I have read about, usually there's something within the family,
Well,
but like I said, everybody is to a point, but some families are definitely stronger than others, and you will see, and sometimes it'll skip a generation, a lot of times the grandparents, because a lot of like the crystals, indigos and crystals, especially crystals, will be born into families with parents, at least a parent or a grandparent, who will help them on their spiritual path.
Who gets
Not
it,
always,
right, yeah.
but yeah, especially more the crystals, like I said. So yeah, so I think there is some of that, you know, it's the stronger abilities.
As the earth shifts get stronger, I think that more of these people will be coming, and I think they're going to be teaching all these things. I think they're going to teach and healing.
Yeah.
They're going to teach healing, energy healing,
That's
spiritual
right.
healing. Okay.
Oh, that's one of the things that actually, if you don't mind me interrupting, is one of the things that I really try to suggest to parents is have their children, have them learn like things like Reiki, things like that, because a lot of them are natural healers, and they can take on medical, you know, issues of other people and that, but the Reiki can help protect them, and also just help them, because Reiki just brings wonder in your life anyway.
Right.
So those are the kind of things that, you know, helping them. You know, so when you said that, sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That's what we have to look forward to. A beautiful world like that, where things are going to be like that. But there's going to be people who don't want to agree with that, because and they're the ones who want to make lots and lots of money, and so it'll be a tough time, you know. So
So the indigos are coming into essentially light warriors is what I call them. You call them warriors. I call them light warriors, to disrupt the system that's going on now. In other words, expose the falsehoods, the lying, the cheating, and all the other things. And you mentioned the financial crisis, which was brilliant. Thank you for that. Then the crystallines will come in and restore order based on love. So we should see the wars fading in about 10 or 15 years, right?
Hopefully.
And then the rainbow children will come in and seed the planet.
Right.
It's a great plan. I do feel sorry a little bit for the indigos as being the warriors. They're out there fighting the battle without much support or people not understanding them. Yes.
Yeah, they definitely have had a difficult time, especially because people don't understand and we didn't really know. It's just really becoming, like I said, more known now. And most of them are adults now, you know. So I mean, you'll still get some indigo kids, you know, because there's no set, you know, thing, but it's I think most of them are pretty much adults at this point.
we have about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
It went by really
Yes,
fast.
really
didn't it?
fast.
Fantastic, great.
I wanted to interject here that I've been talking to some people out there in the field and all that I don't think it's going to be so long, so far away, maybe as 10 or 15 years, we think things are going to change, because it's escalating. And there's signs.
Yeah.
And there's people who've been teaching and doing all this who are starting to become quiet, because the time is, I'm going to have a show on that in January.
Great.
On the timing of it?
Yeah,
Okay, wow.
being quiet now. It's some people have been teaching and helping and trying so hard, and now we've coming to a time where that's all we can do right now. People are not getting it, and that things are going to happen because they're escalating. And you could just look out in the world, look at the weather, look at what's happening with the sun and the moon, look at the wars, look at how people feel, how they act, what they do, and you can see that it's just it's picked up. It's escalating more and more and more. So yeah, I'm going to have a show on that, and I'm going to have a show in the beginning of December on the vaccines again.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah,
great.
that's going
I'll
to be
have
good.
watch that one.
Yeah. So, so what's the last word you'd like to say, or if you have any more questions you'd like to ask? So we got about 4 minutes, 3, 4 minutes. Anything you want to say to the parents anywhere? What the challenges we we said about the challenges. We said how we can support them, and are there any special techniques we can use to help these children?
Yeah, like I said, I was teaching them about bringing in their light, teaching them about how to ground themselves, either you know, with the earth or the water, whatever way, you know, like I think teaching them dry saging, which is really a great technique. My daughter and I use it on each other all the time.
How about things like yoga and qigong
Oh,
classes to move the energy through,
absolutely.
right?
Exercise is wonderful. Diet is really important because I didn't even get into all the chemicals reactions these kids have. They're very sensitive to all the chemicals and that kind of, you know, different kids are, you know, will react differently, but you know, if you take some of that stuff away, the chemicals in the foods, chemicals in cleaning products, the lighting I had mentioned before, there's just all these different things. If you take those away, you may start seeing less irritation, less, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean they have hives, or, you know, but it's more of how they act and how can they sleep better and things like that. So it would be interesting, like, to take, especially like the dyes, the red dyes, and you know, and first of all, they're saying that it has to do with hyperactivity and you know, so a whole other story too. But yeah, so all those things, educating about, getting educated about the best things to feed and exercise. Exercise is huge. Getting out in nature. These kids need to get out in nature.
They really do. That's so
Barefoot,
important.
get out in nature. It's so hard up here in the north when there's snow, but
it's beautiful then too.
oh yeah, but just getting out there barefoot and really being,
when you can do that. But in the wintertime, there's other things to see. Go out into the snow in the winter and teach them respect for all life forms.
All life, yes.
All
Absolutely.
life forms.
The crystals usually have that very innate ability
I'm
already.
sure they do.
Yeah, and so do indigos, but teaching all children about, it's very, very important. You can also just make sure that they know that they're loved by Source, whatever you want to call, however you want to, you know, it really is important because the crystals are here also to teach us about the oneness. But as an individual person, they need to know. They need to know that you believe in that. They need to know that they are definitely connected and that they're loved. Because sometimes it's really hard, and you think about life is so hard. Why is life so hard?
Right.
And you know,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's
to
like
them,
maybe I don't believe in God. Maybe I
Yeah.
don't believe, you know. And even though they know in their hearts, you know, that they do, but you know, we're human. You know, so it's really important to have that foundation and for them to really learn how to like give from the heart and love and you know,
Teaching about a loving God, not a punishing God.
Yes, absolutely.
A loving God is so important. I saw something on Facebook with doing a lot of quoting from the what's it called? Billy Fingers. The I can't think of
the movie, right?
I can't think of the first two words. And everybody's going to be yelling it out to me from their seats.
I know.
But one of the quotes was, when you are given unconditional love, you learn how to get love unconditionally. So that's true. Parents should know that. Well, you know what? I think our time is up.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me.
It went so fast.
Loved it.
Yes, it did. It went really fast.
I hope that you know, the parents out there learned a lot, and any questions that you have.
I learned I may have 2 indigo kids, so
Yes.
thank you for that.
You're welcome. Congratulations.
Any questions, you can contact Elana or David or myself, and we're going to give you Elena's contact information right now. To contact Elana Whyte, our Facebook address is www.facebook.com, and then just put in there Elana Whyte author, and she will come up. Her page is really nice. I've seen it. Her email is elanawhiteauthor@gmail.com, and the book's website is www.elanawhiteauthor.store.envy.com. You want to read the rest to it today?
Do I have more?
To learn more about
To learn more about the show or any of our past shows, please contact us at healoutsidethebox@yahoo.com or reach out to Rosemary Lachance at 203-627-7966, and she's at www.rosemarylachance.com.
And we have to cut off now because and this is David Beatty, and we'll You can get in
Wonderful.
touch with me, and I will put you on to him if you'd like to talk to him.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
The quote tonight is, "There was no need for a term like magical thinking in the golden age of man. There was only genuine everyday magic and mysticism. Children were not mocked or scolded in those days for singing to the rain or talking to the wind." And that's by Anton St. Martin.
Great.
Thank you for
Thank
joining us.
you so much for joining us.
Good
See
night.
you soon. Bye-bye.
Good
Good
night.
Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands.